All right, here we go again. Again, I've been speaking out inside, outside, but offline, just kind of putting things out there. I'm sure it's received by some people on the planet, and of course, not received by others. So, one of the things that came up today, which is a pretty big one in the arguments that are currently going on. And that's that the black population in Tennessee is approximately 15%. I thought it was higher. That's not very much. I mean, just elections are elections. There's no guarantees for 15% of the population because the rest of the population is 85%. And it's very likely that a blue district could disappear. I mean, look what happened in Virginia. They were ready to get rid of multiple red districts. We're not a straight democracy. That's the only thing that could possibly have saved that district. Now, again, maybe a judge will find another reason. Maybe you take it to a certain judge and don't find some reason. I don't know. But as far as it sits, from what I looked at, the only thing that would have saved that 15%, if there was a reason, would have been the fact that we're not a straight democracy. We're a constitutional government. And the concern of a faction. But what the court sees, again, it doesn't live in a vacuum. It doesn't have to live in a bubble. It sees that you are ready to disenfranchise multiple districts in Virginia, not really care. So your argument loses validity. And as far as being 15%, if we look at elections over the years, there were plenty of groups of people that were disenfranchised when they only maintained a 15% presence. It doesn't mean that anybody gets to personally violate your rights at all. You are due everything you're due. You have every right you ever had. So I still think the best conclusion for New York City would have been to meet with some representatives of the upper crust, of some wealthy people. I don't know the truth about Ken Griffin, but he seems like he's an old-time Republican, and he's more centrist than not. Because the idea is this. I call it, and I give all the glory to God for coming up with it. You can't get there from here. So you're putting yourself, you're going down a road where you can't arrive at your destination, quite possibly. Again, I haven't done an in-depth study, but the idea is this. If you lose your tax base and you're increasing this tax, but if you lose the tax base, you could end up with the same amount of working capital for your social programs or less than you had when you started. Again, it's what I call as you can't get where you want from there, from where you are, the road you're going down doesn't arrive at the destination. I told Biden that about the electric cars. You're not going to get there by forcing it. There are people nowhere, not nowhere, but there's 85% at least of the people can't drive that electric car and charge it efficiently. This is the first place that I've ever lived, and I'm 62 years old. besides owning that house for a few years, where I could own an electric car. I mean, if you go back when I was in the military and all that, I guess maybe I could have, but because there's just no way in an apartment complex. You know, if you're working a 9 to 5 and then you got to charge your car, and it actually costs businesses more for their traveling staff. I guess the answer is it would actually be more cost effective to just fly and then rent a vehicle. But again, that may cost them more money than their man or woman just driving to a location. And sometimes they need a vehicle where they go. And I guess rental could be expensive. You know, you created, again, stress for people. And that's, well, all of a sudden now everything gets reversed. I told you it was going to get reversed. So if you piss the people off, they'll put you out, and then every plan you had will get destroyed. Then you have to start over the next time you're in office. So again, bipartisan is always the best policy. Again, you're the ones that want more working capital. But again, his plan could include people moving out and the prices dropping. And then, you know, people with less money can own more property. So again, he might be just working some socialist equation and not really caring. But if you get to the point where you can't finance your programs, you know you can't. That's why that immigrant bill doesn't make sense. I mean, you got a big bill from immigrants. I thought the whole thing was to get them to work and have them pay, you know, rent and all that kind of stuff. That doesn't mean that everybody that goes to work gets to stay here either. Again, don't twist what's being said. Causing that influx of immigrants helps Democrats get elected, especially if you naturalize them. But it doesn't help the poor people in the nation that they came from, because we don't have money to give those people now. Foreign aid has to drop. And again, I told Elon Musk and Doge that you're unintelligently cutting money and you're going to cost more money. We can't drop the social safety net beyond a certain reason because it's evil to do so, number one. Two, it'll cost us more money in the long term. The fraud is what's killing us. I believe that's what it is. And I don't even believe it's like somebody getting some SNAP they're not supposed to get. I mean, when an entire state government, including the attorney general, is covering up for fraud of foreign nationals, I mean, boggles the mind. It just tells you what's out there. You always have to realize that what you arrest is only a small percentage of what's out there. And of course, Vance is out there looking for it. So again, the American public might be duped. They might believe that they can get something with what the Democrats are peddling. But it sounds fake to me. Now, I told you some of Trump's stuff was probably fake too. So again, there is no pot of gold at the end of the Rainbow Coalition. I don't mean that in a bad way. And in fact, maybe I do. I mean, you know, people of color are saying we can't say nothing because I won't have a job. I won't get my monthly check if I'm on a benefit. But I'll tell you right now, what's happening is that they are corrupt within these type of programs, and we're not receiving a fair shake. And I realized that too myself, that the deep state was going to attack me and kill me no matter who was in office. So one thing you should understand about the Republicans in the 90s, there were a lot of partisan movements, but there was no lack of bipartisan when we needed to be. And Democrats, to a certain degree also. We agreed on a lot of things that people usually didn't agree on. Well, because the business of the people requires bipartisanship. It's an ethical requirement. Lack of bipartisanship is a lack of appropriate decorum in government. Because you're not going to get anywhere. You'll get richer as an individual because somebody's paying you. Maybe Putin in China, secretly paying you through several funders. And that goes for Republicans also. The goal of foreign intelligence is to screw up the United States at all costs. They created polarization, extreme things. If you weren't extreme, everybody blocked you from life even. And then we have nothing. It's a logjam. So again, there's bias, and you've proven that Black people and Latino people can be biased. So the courts have a little bit of different view of those type of programs, because even when they were created, there were constitutional questions that went unanswered or unagreed to by the court, because we don't live in a vacuum. Everybody in the court knows back in the 1970s, back in the 1960s, even in the 80s and a little bit in the 90s, that it was going against the people of color. But once the people of color took enough power, they turned it into anti-power. And it's not to say that there aren't white people coming against you. You can make that argument all day, because I can make arguments about Black people, Latino people, and even Asian people coming against me. So you're actually looking very, very poor in the court, because you're shifting your arguments. And again, people are speaking about it online, and that's not the big problem. Is in one place you're talking about one thing, and in the other place you're talking about another thing, and the arguments are 180 degrees out. Well, there's a voluminous amount of information online about people of color with blessings of their politicians wanting to destroy white people and laughing about it, and wanting to destroy the Constitution in the United States. They can speak it. I always told you, there's freedom of speech, but there's a price at times for what you say. And because people of color were discriminated against, people gave you time. The courts gave you time. At this point, can you effectively do anything? As far as the Democratic Party, I told the Biden people, and I don't know if they saw it or not, but again, somebody in the Democratic Party, I'm sure, saw it. I said, You can't give people cash. Now you're so obsessed with kickback, you don't want to normalize yourselves. And a study could be done. I haven't done it, but addiction got worse. Did you pay for narcotics under the guise of providing money for children? Did you cause the breakup of families? Did you cause addiction? Did you cause overdose? Because you wanted enough money out there they could give it back to you? Instead of giving them a voucher where they have to buy child furniture, maybe some food. You're about ready to do it again, I guess, in New York City. If you're going to throw money at people that are theoretically your biggest addicted people, your biggest overdosers in New York City, you're going to reduce your population. I guess the figures will look better, maybe. I don't know. Get rid of the people that don't work because you give them free money and they buy opiates and overdose. It'd be interesting to find out who got money. Talk to some of the people that are rehabbing and things like that. Did they receive any money from the government as far as additional Biden funds that were used for narcotics? And the question is, do you really care? Do you want to give money to the narco because he gives it to you or she gives it to you? Kicks it back. You may have given somebody with 5 kids a ton of money, and all that money went to drugs and alcohol. And while the kid's locked in the basement starving. You just don't care. You're careless, all of you. That's the problem. And AOC got a little bit stuck. She's trying to get somewhere. So she's careful what she says. Well, she doesn't lose the Jew vote because she wants to be a senator in New York. I'm sure of it. Or a governor. So she's really careful, but, I don't know. But you're all getting flustered when people are giving you the hard questions. Because if you run the equation, it doesn't work. You can't get there from, the direction the route, it doesn't exist. Well, there is a crisis in the United States for the truth. And the truth is the only thing that's going to set us free. There is a way to build universal health care so it has capital, but here we are 16 years later, and you're still not ready to figure it out. So it's self-sustaining. Or at least partially self-sustaining. I believe some rich people need to pay higher taxes. New York, I don't think so. I mean, possibly. I think everybody's taxed out in New York. I looked at a house, I'm like, wow, that's a great price. And then I factored in all the fees, taxes, and I'm like, it's the most expensive house in the country. I'll never own it or even be close to it. My mortgage payment is less than the fees and the taxes. I don't know if it was that bad, but that's possible. I think it was like a 1-for-1. I think that the taxes were, and were the same as the mortgage payment. I know there's corruption. I know there's people stealing money. Again, I'm not talking about somebody who sits there and says, "I want SNAP," and they lie about their income. Much larger. Could be somebody. It could include somebody that says, "I want SNAP for 15 people," and collect 15 SNAP checks, and live in Zimbabwe. Again, they don't have to have a criminal record to not be nice people, as far as being an alien. As far as taking care of immigrants, a lot of these people aren't the immigrant in the scripture. They're the person on that road that the person that the Good Samaritan saves. They're the ones that beat that person up. Okay, that's an overwhelming truth. Once upon a time, felons didn't have a felony on their record. That's why we have immigration that works, and we calculate immigration, and we check everybody out. We can't afford it. We couldn't afford it. Even to have them here and apply the additional police services. And there's great people in Mexico and Honduras and Colombia and Venezuela. If you made the system work, some of the people that illegally came here would probably still get here. But there are people that would not even do that. Said, if they're not going to let me there legally, I'm not going there. Why do I want to do that? We would have them here. And no, they're not going to turn a blind eye. They're going to call the right number and make sure narcotics distribution isn't going on in their community. They know how it works. The people that are here. They sell dope, then they come and they hire you for something. Or you're a realtor and they buy a house from you. That's that's part of the inflation problem. Narcos will pay anything. They don't care. It's monopoly money to them. Narcos, deep state, fraudsters. It's all monopoly money to them. Deep state doesn't have enough money. They'll just embezzle some more. Or give contracts over here, give contracts over there, then their people get hired. It's like Mud saying, I don't. Your whole life was bought and paid for by the corruption, Mud. And you know it. Remember, these are intelligent criminals, but criminally intelligent, not intelligent. They know the system. They know how everybody else got busted. So they're not going to leave a trail. They're just going to secure all the money with their scams and then just hire people and just give them money for nothing. Their kicks for free. You give somebody a contract, like Comey and Mueller. Their name might as well been Pablo Escobar and Gambino. So the mafia used to say to me when I was a correctional officer, they say, we're just another government. I didn't get it. I didn't get it. I'm like, government, what do you mean you're crooks? Then, like the deep state attacked in earnest. It wasn't that they weren't attacking me there. I just, I had very little information as to what it was. But at a certain point, I understood. It's not that you're another government mafia. It's that the government was another mafia. Comey, Mueller, Clapper, Tenet, that guy under Clinton that was intelligence. So that was the funny part. It wasn't that the mafia was just another government. It was that the government was just another mafia. That's why it's broken. The mafia is looking for a new scam, a new way up, or a new corrupt way up. All right, that's about enough for now. Don't want to oversaturate the fragile minds of libtardism and beyond. You have to legitimize the government. You have to legitimize your parties, and you have to stop lying, because at a certain stage of the game, it could be considered fraud. I believe your mailers for donations are fraud when you go over. It's freedom of speech, but freedom of speech stops at a certain point and fraud begins. Stop lying to the people. Stop confusing the people. Stop operating the people by making them feel uncomfortable and make them believe the answer is a different politician. We need to reduce the illegal aliens in our country. And within 5 to 10 years, we should be able to get back to normal. As far as, we will even have foreign aid for nations, for the people that, are no longer disenfranchising our nation and corruptly attacking our sovereignty. Mexico, as a nation, attacks sovereignty globally more so than any nation in the world. Well, stay peaceful. Praise God in all that you do. Praise God.